So today we are starting chapter 4, okay, which is all about nouns, people, places, things, right? And it's going to be nouns of the second declension, and they are masculine nouns. So we already have talked about nouns, right? In our very first chapter, we learned about first declension nouns, and they were feminine, right? We learned our chart: nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. We know that nominative is used for the subject. It does the action. We know genitive shows possession, right? Using that word of. We know that dative is the indirect object, and it has that word to or for. Accusative is the direct object, and we know it receives the action. And then we know ablative goes with a preposition, right? One of those little words: in, on, by, with. We know that there's a singular side to our chart if we're talking about one thing, like girl. And then there's a plural side to our chart if we're talking about more than one thing, like girls up. And we have a song, right? A, E, A-M, long A, E, A-R-U-M, I-S, A-S, I-S, right? So in chapter 4, everything here stays the same, except we have new endings. So a first declension feminine noun had that A-A-E when you look at it, like puella, puellai, right? So you could see this A-A-E, right? And that told you it was first declension feminine. So in this chapter, we're going to do second declension, and it's going to be masculine nouns, and they are words like filius, filii, or words like puer, pueri, okay? So what is going to be highlighted is this us or er in the nominative, and a genitive of an I. So these are second declension masculine nouns. Like I said, all of this stuff stays the same. That was the toughest part, right? Was remembering your nominative, genitive, dative, the order of those, what those words were, what their job was, how to decline. You already know how to do that. I'm just giving you different endings. Okay, so again, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. The jobs stay the same. We still have a singular side and a plural side. Okay, if we're talking about one boy versus lots of boys, we just have new endings. In the nominative, it's either a US or an ER. Filius would be the US, puer would be using the ER. Okay? So there's some that have a US, there's some that have an ER. All the other endings stay consistent though. US, ER, I, O, U-M, O, I, O, R, U-M, I-S, O-S, I-S. Yes. What do you just notice though right off the bat? Any similarities with feminine?
Yes, like I-S-A-S-I-S.
Yep, the I-S-A-S-I-S for feminine. This is I-S-O-S-I-S. This is O-R-U-M instead of A-R-U-M.
It's U-M, like A-M.
U-M instead of A-M. Yep. So there are some similarities, right?
Is it a long O?
It's just an O, it's fine, yep. So there definitely are some similarities. Song. U-S-E-R-I-O-U-M O-I-O-R-U-M I-S-O-S-I-S. Just throw that in at the end. I think it's to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. U-S-E-R-I-O-U-M O-I-O-R-U-M I-S-O-S-I-S. U-S-E-R-I-O-U-M O-I-O-R-U-M I-S-O-S-I-S. Okay? So you have these endings. You already know how to decline a noun. Okay? Don't make this harder than it is. You already know how to do this. So if I give you a word like amicus, okay? Amicus. Amicus. Amici. Okay? Think of the word amicable in English, right? Friendly. Think of amigo in Spanish. Friend. So this is the word for friend. Okay, it's masculine. Make your chart. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. You have your singular side. You have your plural side. You have to find your stem, right? Everything before the ending. So your stem is amic. Okay, so we're writing out our stem, everything before the ending, and then we're just going to add our endings. So this one's a US. We know that because of how it's listed. U-S-E-R. I-O-U-M O-I-O-R-U-M I-S-O-S-I-S. So we're declining it exactly like we decline feminine nouns. We just have new endings because these nouns are masculine. And then we just need to define them, right? And they define just like feminine. Okay, so friend, of the friend, to or for the friend, friend as the direct object, with the friend. And then the same thing on the plural side, right? It's just plural. So instead of friend, you'd have friends. Of the friends. If you wanted to use an apostrophe, you could. You just would have to make sure it went after the S to show that it's more than one friend. To or for the friends. Friends as the direct object with the friends, plural. Okay, there's a couple nouns on here that we need to go through because they decline uniquely. Okay. First of all, what happens when we have an ER? Okay, like the word where. Where I, and then there's another ER, egg-air, egg-rye. Do you notice anything just by looking at these? Look at this E. Why are you laughing at me, Ricky? Okay, do you see that this drops the E? This has an E. Then do you see this one doesn't? Sometimes they drop the E. Sometimes they keep the E. Okay, do we see that? So you need to know that agar drops the E. So where is actually going to be your whole stem. And some of this you just have to memorize this. Okay, so where I O U M O I O R U M I S O S I S. It keeps the E. Versus agar drops it. So agar is your nominative, and then agar without the E is your stem. E-R-I-O-U-M-O-I-O-R-U-M-I-S-O-S-I-S. Do we see how that dropped the E? That's just something you have to memorize, but you can see it by how it's listed. If you look at its genitive case, the genitive tells you the stem. Okay, everything before the I, that tells you the stem. Okay? The word weir, meaning man. What's its stem? Look, everything before the I, its stem is going to stay weir, just like where. So weir is going to be its stem. Some of this is just memorization. You just have to spend time with the vocab. I-O-U-M-O-I-O-R-U-M-I-S-O-S-I-S. Weir is the word for man. Okay, just like femina is for woman. Puer is the word for boy, just like puella is the word for girl. Agar is the word for farmer. Think agriculture. I mean for field. Sorry, for field. Sorry. For field, right? Not agricola, farmer. Agar is field. Field. Sorry. Agar is field. Think agriculture. Okay, so these three you have to pay attention to. What's their stem? Okay, we're going to look to the genitive. Okay. Then we have a couple others that are weird, okay? Watch. We are going to decline deus, dei, and dea, dei. Because I don't know if you noticed, but in this vocab, they give you a couple feminine nouns. So AAE, if this is God, what is it in feminine? Goddess. Okay, so we have God and goddess. Okay. So deus. Then DE is your stem. U-S-E-R, I-O-U-M-O-I-O-R, U-M-I-S-O-S-I-S. Okay. Now I'm going to decline goddess using A, A-E, okay, just like before. So D-E is your stem. Okay. A, A-E, A-E, A-M, long A, A-E, A-R-U-M, I-S, A-S, I-S. Look at this. Do you see any potential issue? Kara,
The DE and DEIS is the same for both.
look at these. Those are the exact same words. So how would you know if they're talking about a god or a goddess? They never would have even taken a chance that those could have been mixed up. You never would want to accidentally put goddess instead of god. So one of them's got to change. Which one has to change?
Goddess.
The goddess, the feminine one has to change, right? The masculine one is stays the same. That would never have to change, right? Look. So we take these two, and they're going to change, and they're going to become de abus. De abus. Okay? You just have to memorize that. The same thing happens with the word filius and philia. Filius, son, philia, daughter. You would never want to take a chance that you'd confuse the words son and daughter. So philia in the dative and accusative plural becomes filiabus. Okay, just like dea became deabus. So our vocab is on page 21. We're just going to quickly just go through those words, and then you'll have some time to practice declining on your own. Okay, so like I said, page 21 is the vocab. They are all nouns focusing on masculine second declension. Okay, ager, agri. Like we said, it is field, as in a farmer's field. There's also a word for a field like, look at that big field that we could play in. That's a different word that we're going to learn in this chapter also. Okay, we want to note that this drops the E when we decline it. Okay, we're thinking agriculture, amicus, amici, friend. Okay, think amicable, amigo. So these are masculine nouns. Anus, ani, is year. Think of the word annual. Campus, campi. This also means field, as in a wide open area, a plain. Think like we use it as like a soccer field. Versus ager would be farmer's field. Dea, dei, goddess. That's feminine, right? We want to make a note that in the dative and accusative plural, it becomes deabus. Because we don't.
I was just gonna ask if for like agricoli and poeta, are we declining them as masculine now?
No, they always will be feminine. They're always feminine.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dea is goddess, Deus, Dei, God. Think of the word deity, to deify, right? All having to do with gods. Equus, equi, horse, yeah, think equestrian, right? Philia, filii, daughter, a feminine noun. And then we want to note that in the dative and accusative plural, they are going to become filiabus, right? Just like goddess became deabus. And then if that's daughter, our masculine word is filius, filii, which is son. Note that there's two I's there. It's just because there's an I in the stem. Okay, so that first I is not part of the ending, it's part of the stem. Okay, so you will, as you're declining it, have like filius, two I's, and that's okay. Okay, that's correct. Gladius. Gladi. Is the word for not gladiator, but sword. Okay, it's a word for swords. You could think gladiators used swords. Legatus. Legati is the word for envoy or lieutenant. Masculine, right? Of course, a lieutenant would have been definitely a man in Roman times. Ludus, ludi, is the word for game, but it also could be the word for school. That's because in Roman times, school and games were very intertwined. A huge part of school was playing games because they really felt like in order to have your mind sharp, you had to have your body very in shape. So a big part of school was physical fitness. So that's why the name for game and school is the same. Okay, nuntius. Nunti is the word for messenger. Think announce. Again, it would have been a male role in Roman times. Pueri, the word for boy, right? And we declined this. We said that we need to note that it keeps the E when declined. Okay, it keeps the E. Servus, servi, is a masculine. It is the word for slave or servant. Sometimes they also use it for teacher. Okay. Because oftentimes the slaves would teach the children. And then our last word, the word for man, which is viri. Note its stem. Okay, so vir is the stem as well that you attach your endings to. The vocab's a little bit tougher in this chapter. It's a little bit more nitpicky. There's a few more little rules.
Can you typically write?
Yeah.